Thank you, Fiona, and thanks, Mikhail, for a really inspiring presentation. I love that one of the threads that unites our discussion today is that in many ways we're talking about what's beneath our feet and how that can be a part of the solution to climate change. So we're moving from what's under our feet indoors to the outdoors here, but it's an interesting parallel. I also wanted to start with just a bit of history about Stonyfield. I'm sure that for those of you in the audience today who are from New Hampshire, you're aware that Stonyfield is a longtime fit player in the New Hampshire business world. Stonyfield was actually founded in 1983 over in Wilton, New Hampshire as an organic farming school. So Stonyfield did not start with the intention to be a business, but Samuel Kamen, who was running the farming school, and Gary Hirschberg, who was helping out and participating with the farming school, were looking for a way that they could take some of the products that they were making at the farm and turn them into a value-added product that could bring in some additional income for this school. And they settled on the yogurt that they were making at the time behind the wood stove in the farmhouse kitchen as something that might have some commercial potential. And lo and behold, they were right. Yogurt was not widely consumed in the US at that point in time, but their product caught on, and it was a long journey, but early in the journey, they realized that they felt they could make a bigger impact on the world by growing their business and providing more income for more family farmers around the region than they could simply by training people to be organic farmers. And so they shifted their focus away from the school and into the business. But fortunately, that same mission that guided the founders of Stonyfield at the start is still a big part of our business today and really guides our decisions on how we manage our business still. And so today we refer to this mission as the four healthies: healthy food, healthy people, healthy planet, and healthy business. And we believe that it's not possible to have a healthy business without addressing and really working to improve these other three healthies as well. I want to take a moment to look at some of what we refer to as our greatest hits in sustainability over the years. And these slides are a bit of an eye chart. It's not intended for you to read everything that's here, but I just wanted to touch on some of the things that we've done over the years that have really been done with the intention of not just benefiting our own business, but really we were trying to do things that other businesses could emulate or participate in so that we could make our impact bigger beyond the footprint of our own business. Because one of the things that Gary and Samuel always recognized was that we could do a lot by being a business and creating a business that changed the world for good, but we could do even more if we brought more people and more businesses with us. So some of the highlights that I want to touch on here are early work on carbon footprinting. Back in the mid-90s, we were pioneers in this space, and it led to us being the first US manufacturer in 1997 to offset 100% of our greenhouse gas emissions from our manufacturing facility, from the energy usage at that manufacturing facility. So offsets are when you're creating greenhouse gas emissions and you can't reduce those emissions on your own, you can purchase emissions reductions from somewhere else. So planting trees is a common example of how you might purchase offsets from another location. Stonyfield pioneered this concept, and not only did we do it to reduce our own emissions, but we actually wrote a what we called a cookbook at the time to explain to other companies how they could do the same thing. So again, very early on, looking to say, how can we take what we're doing and really amplify that effect and have it become more widely adopted? Another area where we were pioneers is in our packaging. And one of the things that we did was to replace the plastic lids on our single-serve yogurt cups with foil seals. And this is something that might sound unremarkable today because you say, oh, well, everybody has foil seals on their single serve yogurt cups. But at the time that we did it in 2002, we were the first company to do this. And we did it because it could reduce the greenhouse gas impact of our packaging, but also because it was cheaper. It saved us money as a business. And the rest of the industry quickly noticed that. And now today it's the standard for the way yogurt is packaged in single serve cups. In 2007, we founded an organization called Climate Counts, which was focused on growing the culture of transparency and accountability around corporate climate commitments. And in more recent years, I'm going to talk more today about becoming a certified B Corp as another area of commitment to transparency, and about our commitment to our supply chain, launching a farmer training program that is intended to go far beyond the boundaries of our own business. And throughout all of this, we've also had a long-held commitment to supporting federal and state policies that are consistent with our mission-related goals. We know that it's not enough for us as a business to do these changes and expect it to solve the problem. We know that we also need federal policy to advance the bar for everyone. So advocacy has been a really important part of our business strategy as well. In 2016, we became a certified B Corporation. We've been working, as I've noted already, in the sustainability space for a long time. And in many ways, we felt, why should we need to become a B Corp? Don't people know that Stonyfield has a commitment to sustainability? But what we realized is that by becoming a B Corp and joining this community, we are really emphasizing our commitment to transparency and accountability around sustainability claims. It's the same, it's similar to our commitment to being certified organic. We don't want you to just trust us when we say that our farms are great. We want you to say, oh, they're certified organic and their farms are certified organic, and therefore I can trust that they're using sustainable farming practices. It's the same thing with our other corporate sustainability practices. We can put ourselves out there all we want, but we want to make sure that we have third-party verification to validate the claims that we're making, and we want other businesses to do the same thing. Obviously, climate change has been really front and center in our sustainability efforts over the years, but we also recognize that it's important to take a systems approach to sustainability. Farmers, for example, cannot engage in improving sustainability on their farm and doing something to improve their pasture quality or reduce their impact on water if they're in a situation that is financially untenable for them. You have to be in a comfortable place from an income perspective in order to have the mental bandwidth to take on some of these other sustainability challenges. And so because of this, another big area of focus for us has been on the resilience of the community of farms that we source our ingredients from. We have always had the health of the New England regional agricultural economy front and center in our vision as a business. It's part of why we were started as a company. And in the past decade, we launched a new direct milk supply program so that we could put more emphasis on those farmer relationships and on growing the amount of organic milk that's produced here in New England and providing those farms with the resources that they need to help them succeed. As part of this effort, we've teamed up with Wolf's Neck Center for Agriculture and the Environment, which is a nonprofit education and research farm and forest on the coast of Maine. And we gave Wolf's Neck a gift to help them start a residential organic dairy training program. We saw that the number of organic dairy farmers in our region was not increasing anymore. And we realized that young farmers needed more resources to be successful as they entered into careers as organic dairy farmers. And so now Wolf's Neck offers a 2-year program, an apprenticeship, and it's a residential program where farmers are given intensive training in organic dairy farm management so that they can help to successfully establish the next generation of farmers in this region. And when we made this gift, we had a very deliberate conversation around whether we should have some kind of requirement for graduates of Wolf's Neck and the apprenticeship program to come and ship milk to Stonyfield. Because of course, we're making this big investment in training new farmers. We want them to come and provide milk to us when they actually go out into the world and start farming. But we realized that was an untenable thing for many reasons. And yet we said, you know what, we need to commit to this anyway. And we need to trust that as young people graduate from this program and go out into the world, that we are helping raise the bar for all organic dairy farmers. We're helping the entire community be more successful, and that benefits our business, even if some of these farms don't end up partnering with us from a business perspective down the road. Going back to climate change for a moment here, in this past year, we decided to refresh our commitment to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions as a business. And to do this, we went through the process of setting a science-based target, and that target was approved this past summer by the Science Based Targets Initiative. So again, with the commitment to transparency, we felt it was important to have third-party validation of the commitment and the strategy that we are setting. Our overall goal is now to achieve a 30% reduction in our emissions by 2030 compared with our 2017 baseline. So this means that no matter how much our business may grow between now and 2030, and we hope it grows a lot, that we still have to reduce our emissions by 30% compared to where they were in 2017. So it's 30% may not sound huge, but it feels huge to us. We know that we have a lot of work to do to get here. And our strategy focuses on 5 different areas: agriculture, packaging, transportation, energy, and waste. And I'm going to really focus in today on our goals around agriculture and soil in particular, because we have calculated that if all of the dairies that ship milk to Stonyfield, so all 250 dairies that supply the milk we use in our yogurt, if they were all to increase their soil carbon sequestration by about 1.5 tons per acre per year, that this could alone offset 30% or reduce 30% of Stonyfield's greenhouse gas emissions. We're starting from a solid place when it comes to soil health. The organic standards require farmers to start by building soil health as a foundation for growing healthy crops and livestock. And the certification actually requires farmers to demonstrate how they are using practices to build soil health as part of the certification process. Organic certification also prohibits the use of synthetic fertilizers, which are made using fossil fuels and thus a big source of greenhouse gas emissions. New research actually confirms that organic farms are better at locking away carbon than that carbon that would otherwise be in our atmosphere. And this new study that came out a couple of years ago was done by the Organic Center in collaboration with Northeastern University, shows that organic farms have 13% higher soil organic matter than conventional farms and 26% more potential for long-term soil carbon storage. So this is a great place to start, but we also know that every farm, whether they're organic or conventional, has room for improvement when it comes to soil health. And this room for improvement is really a key part of agriculture potentially becoming a solution to climate change. And I want to talk for a minute here about why we focused in on soil health, because dairy farms have many sources of emissions and soil is just one of these sources. Energy usage, manure management, feed production, enteric fermentation. There are strategies for reducing emissions in each of these areas, and we are pursuing work in all of these areas. But we see soil health as the most promising area because if farms are successful at improving soil health and increasing soil carbon sequestration, these activities can actually offset all of the other emissions from the farm. And even better, they can do this in a way that's beneficial for the farm's profitability at the same time. Improving soil health can increase the resilience of crops and pasture to extremes in precipitation, which we are already seeing more of due to climate change. And improving soil health can reduce a farm's reliance on irrigation, purchased fertilizer, and other inputs, all of which contribute substantially to a farm's greenhouse gas footprint. In addition to the environmental benefits, these activities are really beneficial to a farm's bottom line. Better resilience to extremes in precipitation means that farmers are less likely to suffer financial losses from drought or from excess rain, and less reliance on purchased inputs like fertilizer or irrigation saves farmers money. And really what we're talking about here is nothing short of a revolution in farming practices. The last revolution in agriculture, the current revolution by many accounts, is the Green Revolution, and it relied on the use of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides to boost agricultural production. And don't get me wrong here, the Green Revolution brought a lot of gains in agricultural productivity, and it's responsible for feeding many people in many places around the world. But these activities also came at a cost to the environment and human health, particularly the health of farmers and farm workers. And this reliance on inputs has meant that a big share of farmers' income goes towards purchasing things like seeds and fertilizer instead of back into the farm's bottom line. We really believe at Stonyfield that the next revolution in agriculture is going to be a knowledge-based revolution. It's about putting better site-specific information into farmers' hands about the farming practices that can enable them to build soil health and profitability at the same time. And at a global level, if we are successful in engaging all farms around the world in improving soil health and increasing soil carbon sequestration at a rate of 4 parts per thousand, which in our region is equivalent to about 1.5 tons of carbon per year, tying back to our own climate goal, if we are successful at engaging all farms in improving soil health at this rate, we could actually halt the annual increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So there's huge potential here for agriculture to shift from becoming a source of being a source of greenhouse gas emissions to becoming a solution to climate change and part of how we achieve drawdown. At Stonyfield, we've teamed up once again with Wolf's Neck Center to advance this revolution and to advance this solution to climate change through the creation of a new open source platform called Open Team. Open Team is a farmer-driven collaborative effort led by Wolf's Neck in partnership with Stonyfield and the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research and Land PKS. It's creating a platform that will provide farmers around the world with the best possible knowledge to help them improve soil health. Ultimate goal is to make it simple and easy to harness the power of tools that measure and monitor soil health and farm emissions, and use this to deliver site-specific information back to the farm about how they can improve soil health, and then track the benefits that are created by these activities over time. And again, I think this is another example of how we didn't want to create our own way of doing things and just do it ourselves with our own farmers. We recognize the opportunity and the challenge of addressing soil health, and we set out with Wolf's Neck to create something that everyone can benefit from. Open Team is really designed to be used by any farm anywhere in the world, regardless of the type of production or the scale of the farm. So even smallholders can have a way of accessing this technology and using the platform and growing their usage of the platform as their usage grows. So I want to touch just for a moment at the end here on policy, because there are a lot of businesses that are starting to set goals around regenerative agriculture or climate more broadly, but there are a lot of businesses that are not. And this is why it is so important that along with these business efforts, we have strong federal legislation that can put our entire economy, including the food and agriculture sector, on a path to getting to net zero greenhouse gas emissions before 2050 or sooner. we can't expect that private sector soil health efforts, like what we're leading with Open Team, can carry the entire market in the direction that it needs to go. And ultimately, we haven't really changed anything if climate-minded businesses merely align with farms that are interested in improving their soil health, and all of the other farms are left to go work with businesses that don't care about these things. We need to encourage widespread adoption of practices to benefit soil health across all farms so that we can turn agriculture into a climate change solution. And this is why Stonyfield is heavily engaged in advocating for federal and state climate policy and farm bill programs that can encourage adoption of these kinds of practices. And I believe in the bigger picture, it is really time for us to again redefine what good corporate citizenship looks like. Stonyfield was founded on the principle that business can change the world for the better. And in many ways over the years, we've shown just how much of that is possible. But over and over, we've adopted practices that have been emulated by other businesses and even become industry standard in some cases. And we won't stop working to raise the bar for how business can be a force for good. But over the years, I think that the power of the narrative around how business can be a force for good has in some ways undermined people's understanding of the role that we need government to play as well. It's not enough for individual businesses to be advancing their own missions as they define them. We also need the federal government to set a baseline for social, environmental, and economic regulations that can slow climate change and advance social justice so that future generations can have access to the same privileges we have today. And as part of this, companies that are committed to sustainability really need to expand this commitment to include advocacy for federal and state policies that support these same goals. Climate change, the federal minimum wage, healthcare, toxic chemical regulation, these are just a few examples of the ways that companies need to be proactively engaging. And to be clear, there are companies that are currently advocating for these kinds of policies and doing great work. But there are also far too many companies that are publicly setting climate change or social responsibility targets on the one hand, and then going to Congress and undermining these goals on the other. And so it's time to hold companies accountable for how they advocate for policy and raise the bar for how we have transparency in these interactions, just as we do for other sustainability targets. And I'm aware that we are running short on time, so I am going to stop there. Thank you, Fiona.